You're listening to 91 Reasons, a journey into the twisted landscape of pop culture. Keep your hands and arms inside the podcast at all times. And now, the voice, Jeff Tucker.
All right, welcome. Another episode of 91 Reasons. I am the voice. I am Jeff Tucker. All right, we have a weird episode. Normally, I have a lot of preamble, stuff that I talk about, business. But since this is the third episode this week, following over two solid hours of the career of Winona Ryder, I thought we'd like a thin mint, like sorbet between meals, between dishes. We're gonna cleanse our palate with a very unusual episode, and it's unusual in that for over a dozen episodes now, you've been hearing only me and occasionally some music and stuff on the show, but not another voice. Not since the ComicCon wrap-up show have we heard another voice. So this episode, I have two very special guests here. I have my son Austin.
Hello.
How old are you?
14.
14. And my son Luke. How are you?
Hi.
How old are you, sir?
17.
17. And they're going to walk us through an internet phenomenon that most people are probably not even aware of. But let me tell you, this thing is actually very big. It's very underground. It's one of those things like, you ever have a band that you like you find this dusty old cassette in the bargain bin and you listen to it and you're like, oh my God, this is great. And I'm the only one listening to it. So it's the coolest thing ever. Like, I remember listening to the Proclaimers back in the late 80s and thinking like this twin guys from Scotland, and I don't understand half of what they're saying, but I really like the music. And then all of a sudden they got featured in Benny and June with 500 Miles, and then everybody knew who they were. So that's kind of what we're dealing with. It's this weird underground phenomenon that's big at cons. If you've ever been to any kind of convention, and if you're listening to this show, you probably have been to at least one, or you want to go to one, you will see, or you will have seen, a strange group of cosplayers. And it's weird because a lot of cosplayers, you can readily identify who they are and what they're dressed as. You're like, okay, Thor, Captain America, Darth Vader, Anakin Skywalker. And then some of them are a little less identifiable, like, oh, you're pinup Harley Quinn, and you're Khaleesi from Game of Thrones if she worked at Starbucks. Oh, that's great. What a mashup. Nice. And then on the bottom, and I'm only saying bottom because they're fringe. They're fringe, right? Would you agree with that?
Yeah.
They're fringe. They're these kids, and it's mostly kids. You don't see any adults. And they've got gray skin, and they're wearing horns on their head, and the horns are candy corn colored, and they have horoscope pictures on their T-shirts. And for a long time, it's like, what are these people? And there's only a few of them. But at conventions now, like we were just at Kamikaze. How many were at Kamikaze?
Oh, hundreds.
Over 100.
Over 100 at least.
And they are dressed as Homestuck characters. What the heck is Homestuck, you're asking? What the heck is Homestuck? I'm asking, and I'm the host. So I have two experts here. These guys have written down. Okay, Homestuck is... You jump in here when I'm wrong here. Okay. Homestuck is a webcomic.
An interactive webcomic.
An interactive webcomic written solely by a guy named Andrew Hussey.
Yes.
And it's uploaded to the internet, and it's free to read and interact and solve the puzzles. And just now it's becoming mainstream in that companies are picking up and making merchandise. Like there's a Homestuck T-shirt at Hot Topic, right? Yeah. It's the shirt that if you ask the employees, can I have that one? And they go, what's that? It's like, well, if you took that nose ring out or put that nose ring out of your ear, you might be able to hear me. So, okay, Luke, tell me in a nutshell, what is Homestuck?
Oh, God. How do you do it so, nutshell?
It doesn't have to be a nutshell. Just come in here and tell me what it is. Like, okay, how did you discover it?
Through my friends who had read it. It's one of those things where it's not really advertised anywhere. You just have to know someone to get in with it.
You have to know someone to get. So
Yeah,
you wouldn't
spreads
see
through word of mouth.
So there's no banner ad on eBay that's like, "Ooh, Homestuck, click here."
No,
not even on Etsy.
None of that.
Okay. All right. So how many pages currently? Because Homestuck is this thing like it's not a singular project; it's a living, breathing thing that continues, and it's different all the time. How many pages is it currently?
Counting all of the continuity, it's at over 9,000 pages. And
Wait. 9,000. Now, what constitutes a page?
anything from a picture to a moving GIF to a flash game that takes 1 to 3 hours to complete.
And over how many thousand?
9,000.
Now, you've read every single page.
Yes.
Okay.
Multiple times.
Can you recite the preamble to the Constitution of the United States?
No.
But you've read 9,000 pages of Homestuck.
Yes.
We're all doomed.
I can tell you page numbers of certain events.
All right, so tell me, what is the plot of Homestuck? Because to me it sounds like Shia LaBeouf in Disturbia. He's stuck at home, and there's a murderer next door.
4 kids get a video game that allows them to interact with the real world, and it, through thousands of pages, ends up with alternate dimensions and timelines and something to do with creating a universe. We don't know yet. We're still waiting for the end.
You're still waiting for it to end.
Yes.
So it's kind of like Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings saga.
Yeah. He says the author says there's only about 1,000 more pages to go, but he also said that back in 2010.
And how many pages have there been since then?
About 6,000 since then.
So it's never going to end.
No.
And now Andrew Hussey, the guy who creates this, he's kind of a strange guy. Like we met him at ComicCon 2 years back. What's he like?
He has conflicting personalities. Online, he's like this huge troll who just messes with people. He talks to fans, and then you meet him in real life, and he's like, "Hey, I'm Andrew Hussey."
So he's a typical internet guy.
Yeah.
He's brave behind a keyboard, but get him out in the open, he's like, the sun. So he just sits around and does this Homestuck. Okay, you have to explain a little bit more. Like, okay, how does the Homestuck open?
It opens with a young man standing in his bedroom.
On his birthday.
It's his birthday, the 13th of April, 2009.
All right.
And he gets Suburb Beta in the mail, which is this video game he's been waiting for. And it takes 2,000 pages for him to turn it on. He just messes around his house.
Wait. There's 2,000 pages before the plot kicks in.
Yes.
You're joking.
Well, if that's what you want to count as the plot kicking in. Some people...
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
Some people want to count the aliens coming in as the plot. That's 3,000 pages. Others say it's not till every character is introduced, and that's 6,000 pages.
Okay, so I get that. My question would be then, why... Okay, you start reading it and nothing happens for 2,000 pages.
Oh, no.
Why would you read it?
No, everything happens in 2,000 pages.
What happens before he plays the game?
The way he writes it is that he uploads it in bits and pieces of like 5 or 6 pages at a time. So every update is written in a way that it's entertaining. So it's like a cliffhanger. Every 5 pages, something big happens, or there's an important dialogue or something.
Okay, that sounds like a Robert Langdon book. That's every chapter of the Da Vinci Code, like bum bum bum, the worst is gonna happen.
Yeah.
So what's a typical cliffhanger? Like, oh, we're out of butter.
Usually it's an off-screen character they're looking at, or a small death of one of the main characters.
What's a small death?
Usually it's a stab through the chest.
But death is death.
No. These. How many times has John died? I think we're up to 6.
Yeah, I think we're at 6 now.
I think we're at 6, something like that.
And who is John?
He's the main character. He's the young man.
John who?
Egbert.
John Egbert is the main character.
Most of the names were user submitted. His name was almost Clint Newton by like 3 nanoseconds.
Okay, see, this is interesting. But on a base level, why do you enjoy this thing? To me, it sounds bizarre. Okay, I'm old school. I like the 30, 60, 30. 30 pages, this is a screenplay. 30 pages, you know everything. 30 pages, you meet the characters. 60 pages, you get them up a tree and you throw rocks at them. 30 pages, you get them out of a tree. That's basic plotting. this doesn't seem to follow any of
It
that.
sort of fits that in each of the 6 acts. It kind of follows that structure.
Yeah, but you're talking about each
over and over again.
But you're talking about each act being 1,000 pages.
Yes.
Well, Act
That
6.
that rivals even Shakespeare in length and duration. Like, that just sounds crazy. How do you read it? You've read all of this.
Yes.
Why? Why?
Yes.
'Cause it's good.
It's good. Yes.
But is it good because it's good, or is it good because as you're reading it, you're like, I'm in the club. I'm the only one reading this. Because I know there's something to that.
There is something to that, but the actual comic is good. The fandom interpretation of almost everything in it is completely different from the comic. If you get stuck, you'll read it in about a month, and then stick in the fandom for a few months looking at their interpretations of the characters. Then you look back at the comic, and it's nothing the same. So, those are two distinct things,
Well,
liking the comic and liking the people.
But let me ask you this though. Then is he doing that on purpose? Is it deliberately vague to invite interpretation, or is that just what you've done to it?
It's whatever he
And he being Andrew Hussey.
Yes. He made it vague, then we made characterizations. Okay. And then he made fun of those characterizations.
So let me ask you this. Does Homestuck represent, like, the next level of entertainment for your generation, in so much as it's a property that's put out there with a storyline, but in such a way that you, the users, get to read it, offer your opinions on what's being said, and then the creator himself can morph that and take fan fiction and make it part of the reality of the show.
Yeah.
And that's appealing to you.
Yes.
It's not like when George Lucas says, well, this is my vision, and you can't have the original visions of Star Wars because I've changed. Hussey is the anti-Lucas.
He's the anti-Lucas.
He's listening to you, the fan, and putting
our
your
stuff in
yeah,
the comic.
and that's why it's that makes sense to me.
Yes.
Because you're a generation raised on video games and multiple doors. I mean, and not side scrollers where it's like jump here, jump here. We're talking like multiple option video games where you can free roam and walk around. And this is kind of the literary version of that, right?
Yes. The reason you can't really leave the fandom if you wanted to is because you want something to show that you were there and you read it. So you keep making these dumb comics and jokes, and every now and then he puts one in the comic. So you want to be one of the people to be in it.
Okay, see, that encourages an active fan base.
Yes.
Okay, so speaking of fan base, if Luke, you're the guy who reads it and enjoys it, Austin is the guy who reads it and wants to be part of it. Because, dear listeners, as he's sitting here, he is wearing candy corn horns and a wreath of flowers, and he has embraced the Homestuck as a lifestyle option. Is that correct?
Yes.
So what does that mean to you? Why, like, okay, I can describe my experiences of watching Back to the Future and wanting to, liking the movie so much that I wanted to be part of it. And it killed me that Hill Valley wasn't a real place. Like, I wanted to get in the car and go to Hill Valley. That's why we go to Puente Hills Mall. That's why we drove in the valley to see Marty's house. That's why I snuck into Universal to, be a part of it. So you get to take Homestuck, which is pure fiction. There's no live action to it at all, right? And you're dressing up all the time as it.
Yes.
In one panel of one page, there's a picture of a cosplayer, used as one of the characters.
So is that like your hero?
He's the Dave.
He's
Sprite.
Dave Sprite.
He doesn't do much in the fandom anymore. That was his one shining moment.
Yeah. But it's like his cosplay was in the comic. He is Dave Sprite
So
now.
he represents the fandom.
Yeah.
Well, what is the fandom, Austin? Explain to me what do you get out of wearing this getup? Because you wear the horns, the wreath, the flower, the Zodiac shirt, the jacket, the gloves. Like you want to be this character, and I don't understand. Like, help me understand why you want to do that.
The Homestuck fandom is more than just people liking a thing. It's like a family. Like, when two Homestucks find each other in public, it turns into a conversation. It's not like When two people walk by with a Batman t-shirt, no words are really exchanged. But when two people walk by in Homestuck shorts, it's like, oh my god, you like Homestuck, that weird underground thing I'm obsessed with. I meet so many people I walk by and they're just like, oh my god, that's a Homestuck shirt. You're like the horns and everything. It's such an underground thing, and it's such a big deal to find someone. Of course, now it's spread a lot bigger. Especially, because we're getting to the point now, in next March, it's been 2 years since I've read the comic. And it's grown so much bigger now.
Yeah, well, I would agree. Like, having a shirt at Hot Topic
Yeah.
is kind of like you've arrived. Because it's weird. Now, not to do on a side note, but 91 Reasons, we do a lot of side streets. We're driving somewhere, but we do a lot of stops along the way. Isn't it strange that when your mom and I went to Hot Topic, it was to get the latest music gear. The only place to get Morrissey and Smith shirts, other than a convention or a really tiny, dirty shop somewhere where they, like, your mom and I used to go to a store in Bellflower where they wouldn't even let you in the door. They lock the door like those, what are they called? Dutch doors, where just the bottom locks and the top swings out. And you walk up to the door and point at what you wanted. And they'd go, well, let me see if I have that. But I know you have it because I'm pointing at it. Well, let's see if it's for sale. And now we're at a point where Hot Topic has transformed from all about the music. And they do have a few music shirts, but it's really become geek central. And I say that in the most loving way as a geek myself, because the whole front of the store is Deadpool, Let It Go, Frozen, and tons of Doctor Who stuff. And what am I missing? Attack on Titan, Minecraft, Batman, My Little Pony. Like, I haven't mentioned any rock bands in that, and that's all you see there. That's all you see in the shop. And when you look up on the racks and you see, like, Breakfast Club t-shirt, Attack on Titan t-shirt, Adventure Time t-shirt, and then Homestuck t-shirt, like, that means you've arrived. You're part of it. And let me ask you, like, would you be excited if you went to Hot Topic and the whole front of the store was Homestuck?
Yes.
Yeah.
Because the merchandise... Okay, over a year ago when I first read the comic, and I went to go see the merchandise after I had read it and become part of the fandom obsessed with it, they did not have much at all. They had a few books. They had whiteboards that you could draw on.
And you're saying they, like, across the board, not Hot Topic, just they.
I'm referring to Hussey's small company, What Pumpkin. It was...
What Pumpkin?
What Pumpkin.
Is there a reason
Yes.
behind that name?
It's a reference to the very first not the very second panel on MSPA, MS Paint Adventures, where the comic is stored, which is Hussey's older comic, Jailbreak, which he started on a forum. It wasn't even on the site. It was on a forum. And it was a guy, a pumpkin, and a key, and you're in a jail cell. And the first thing anyone said to do was have the guy get the pumpkin. And the next page, the pumpkin was gone. And Hussey said, hey, what pumpkin? And now it's this multi-billion-dollar company.
What Pumpkin?
What pumpkin?
Okay, all right.
And I remember going on the website, and all they really have is... They had was a few books, whiteboards to draw on, and American Apparel t-shirts where he printed zodiacs on them. And they were practically, like, hand-ordered by him. They weren't officially made t-shirts. And now here we are. Now you can literally go to Hot Topic and get a t-shirt. And if you go on What Pumpkin, they now have plushies, action figures, stickers, lunch boxes. Like, he mentioned on his blog that there was going to be at one point an Andrew Hussey corporate sellout. I thought this was going to be a joke, but it really happened. He really...
But is that, do you consider that a sellout? Or do you consider, like, look, he knows everybody likes this, everybody wants it, so why not make it available?
Yeah, that's really what it is.
Kind of both. Last we heard, he's quit all of his jobs or anything. He just writes this comic.
He's embraced it fully.
Yeah, it's all he does.
But let me ask you this. Not that long ago, you would sit at a table with clay and make horns all day, trying to make the perfect set of troll horns, which you did. And it was like watching Arthur forge Excalibur from the fire, right? And what happened to that most precious headband of horns?
I bought the official plus
No.
ones.
What happened to the original ones?
Oh, I left
You left them where?
at the Toys R Us bathroom.
Oh,
And some guy, like, imagine Arthur sets down Excalibur and goes to get coffee, right? And when he comes back, some guy's like, oh yeah, I put that in the trash. Like, that's what happened. Doesn't that suck?
Yes.
But we're talking about what used to be a rite of passage for the is there a name for the Homestuck? I almost said Homestuckians.
Sometimes it's Homestucks. That's it. Just
Homestucks.
Well,
sometimes it's Homestuckians.
So was it a rite of passage for the Homestucks to make their horns, or now is it like, look, we love fine. We love fine, not wheel of fine like I thought it was forever. They sell the horns. You walk up and you're like, I want the horns. You got the horns.
They only have half of them right now, but yes.
But then they just sell them.
They just sell them.
You don't have to make them anymore.
$15 and they ship them right to your house.
Because you know, I spent years, literally years, looking for the perfect Marty McFly vest. And now that they make what's that? Ben Cooper. Rubies. Does Rubies make a Marty McFly? They make some of these things, and they're the cheapest, ugliest things ever. And I would just look at somebody wearing that and going, you're not a real fan, because a real fan would have found the right vest, and not just any jean jacket, but the jean jacket that has the gray inserts, right? Remember when I found that jacket? I was like, oh my, it's a woman's jacket. I was like, I don't care. I'm wearing it. It's my Marty McFly. So, you're wearing the made horns, but I guess that's got to feel like awesome, official, like it's official.
Horns have, due to the release, have sort of lost their status symbol. Normally you'd see a pair of horns in the crowd, and you're like, there's a huge major Homestuck fan over there. Now you're like, oh, someone stopped by the Wheel of Fine booth.
You're like,
keep looking.
Right, it used to be like, oh my gosh, he hath forged those four horns with his own two hands. He had wrought them from the clay, and now it's like, oh yeah, aisle 12B. Over there, aisle 12B.
And now that they're so readily available, there's even people popping up wearing horns that aren't Homestucks.
Why?
They look cool.
They look cool.
They do? I mean, they do. They do. But if your mom started wearing these horns, would you be like, awesome? Or would you be like, Ma, you're not a Homestuck. You're not a Homestuck. What would you do? Because I'll be honest, this listening to us talk is the most she's ever known about this thing, and me too. I'm including myself in that too, because I'm telling you, it's one of those things I don't understand, I don't get. There are a million of things I don't like. At this point, I'm sure there will be a change later in my life when I have more time to sit down. I don't get the Doctor Who thing. I don't get it. And that's not to say. Oh, your mom wants to chime in here. You have to get up on the mic. You can't just sit there with your arm. Hold on. My wife is sitting over there steaming. No. She has candy corn colored steam coming out of her head in the shape of horns. Get up on here.
I'm just saying that although I don't know the entire story or have read the 9,000 pages, I have made many a set of horns for my sons. I painted many Zodiac t-shirts. And at WonderCon, not this year but the year before, me and my best friend Teresa wore Homestuck mom shirts.
Kamikaze.
Oh, Kamikaze.
Kamikaze.
We wore Homestuck
because
shirts.
Folks at WonderCon, we all wear 6-key t-shirts to promote our book, which are available on Amazon in both a beautiful paperback version and only 99 cents for a Kindle download. But if you're a member of Amazon Prime, they are free.
And the horns. I wore the horns in public for the entire day because that's the kind of mom I am.
Now, what do you think as the mom if you've ever been to Kamikaze, it's at the LA Convention Center, and upstairs they have a Starbucks and the convention, and then in the middle they have where people stand around and all the cosplayers are like, look at me, and I'm like, look, I'm looking, okay, I'm looking. And then if you take the escalator down, there's a little dank pit full of Homestucks. I don't know how they claimed it, but it's as if there's a Andrew Hussey flag in the middle of this area where all the Homestucks lounge about. What did you think? Okay, I'm going to tell you what I think, and then you tell me what you think. Because what I saw was the bee girl from the Blind Melon video suddenly seeing the land of bees where everybody's dressed as her, and it's like, all I can say is that my life is pretty. And then there they are. And then I'm like, all of a sudden, my dorky sons in their candy corn horns are suddenly then I'm the outsider. I'm the guy. They're looking at me like, hey, what's he doing here? He looks he's normal. He's weird. Get him out.
Non-stuck is the official term.
Oh, crap. I'm a non-stuck.
I just want to say one more thing, and then I'll go sit down. But I have to say that this group of kids, ranging from age 10 to 19, is the most hardcore group of kids, is the most polite and well-behaved kids I've ever hung out with. They don't know you, and it doesn't matter. If you have those horns on, they run up and hug you like you're their long-lost best friend.
You and Paul the family.
And you feel like you're part of the family. And I know my kids are safe and going to be loved and are free to roam in that pit and that convention without me being concerned in any way. It's really something to witness. And Austin, who used to have major Asperger's issues, changed because of Homestuck. I truly believe it gave him a social outlet and a social life that he's never had. He's a social person now because of Homestuck. And I mean, that alone, as a mother, to watch your child who had a problem speaking to anybody in public or anyone he didn't know, float across the room and hug someone like he's known him their whole life and have a conversation is an amazing thing to witness.
So what is that, Austin?
I don't know. I mean, Homestuck is something to talk about.
Well, that's when I did my convention episode, and I implored anybody who was listening who hadn't been to a convention to go to one, simply because everybody goes sort of wearing their flag of choice. Their house sigil, their banner, right? And it's like, this is what I like. What do you like? And you can, in an instant, have a rapport with somebody. You like that thing? I like that thing.
Yeah.
We like that thing together.
And then a conversation starts, and you become friends.
Yeah, your mom and I rode a pedicab in San Diego from the Holiday Inn to the convention center. It was like 2 miles. We shared it with a strange guy from Australia. And he had come to the convention alone. Around the world he had come. He didn't know anybody. He was utterly alone. He said he'd made more friends at that convention than a lifetime at home. Doesn't that... I mean, God, I'm getting goosebumps. I'm like, I want to go to a con right now.
Yeah.
Like, you guys here...
We live for cons.
Oh, you took the words out of my mouth.
We live
Talk
for
about
cons.
that. Talk about ComicCon 2013, because that was kind of like the big moment of Homestuck, right?
Yeah.
Because Andrew Hussey and What Pumpkin decided to take this weird hotel right across from the con and turn it into what is basically a Homestuck Central. They set up a Homestuck shop there. They had a big banner.
Because of Namco.
Yeah, because of Namco.
Namco.
Because of Namco Games.
What Pumpkin made a deal to make a Namco dating simulator with Homestuck characters in it in return for publishing their game, which they never did because the whole company got destroyed. Namco's subdivision was completely destroyed.
And it was basically, like, any time of the con during the day, you could go up there, and there'd be about 50 Homestucks, and they'd all start talking to you, and you could talk to them. It was, like, the ultimate Homestuck area.
Yeah, what was interesting to me about that, and we were there quite a bit because, A, it was fun. There were free video games, free arcade games. They were all set to free, which I was like, you got to be kidding me. And there were great giveaways. Remember, it was a really nice set of giveaways. And what's interesting was usually Comic-Con is... I compare it to, when the family is running to the plane in Home Alone, dun, 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 and they're running to the plane, right? That's what Comic-Con is like every second. It's like, faster, no. Well, this is something I like. No, keep going. We got to see everything. Run. We've got to go. There's a million things to see. And this was the first year where I was like, where are you guys going? They're like, well, we're going back to Namco Plaza.
Shifty look.
Shifty look, because everything we want is up there. And it was weird, like, again, there's that B-girl mentality of we go up there and everybody's wearing horns. And, Austin, you were dressed as somebody called the Aimless Renegade. Explain your costume of the... This is a Homestuck character called the Aimless Renegade.
10 pages.
Well, that's that. But see, in any fandom, that's called, like, I'm going to pick the most obscure character. Because then when I walk around in this costume... only the fans are going to know who I am. And even like, you can't even be somebody who just casually knows what Homestuck is. Like, when you dress up as somebody from Doctor Who that's really obscure, you're saying to the world, look, if you don't know what this is, I ain't for you. And was that the Aimless Renegade?
Yeah, he is basically a police officer who gets exiled and stranded on a destroyed Earth from the future. And when he does so... his police cop uniform is destroyed, so he wears caution tape. He, like, wraps caution tape.
Yellow caution tape.
Like a mummy. And that's what he wears.
Yes, so I sat in my own Homestuck moment of triumph and made this costume for you, this big helmet and everything, right? And I didn't know what it was. I didn't understand. And like Luke letting go of the controls on the X-Wing, I let go. And I let you wear this thing. And do you know what my payment for making that costume was?
What?
You know what I'm going to say?
What?
It was the guy who walked up to you and he said, I am just so happy that you exist.
Oh, the signless cosplayer.
Yes, he was. He just looked at. He just stared at you like, I can't effing believe somebody is dressed as that character. You know, like remember at Kamikaze when I saw that guy dressed as Griff from 2015?
Yeah.
I was like, oh my God, he's dressed as Griff. Like that made me so happy. And that guy, you made him so happy because you were dressed as this ridiculous. Like everybody, if you go out on the street, everybody's like, "Oh, Lady Gaga's brother," you know. But up there at Shifty Look, this guy was just, oh man. Like you know what he looked like? He looked like when two characters are stranded in a boat, and the other guy looks up and sees just like a big hot dog. That's what you look like. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Now we met all those people up at Shifty. How long were we at Shifty Look? Like all day, right?
All day.
all day, every
we
day.
stood 2 hours in line to get Hussey's autograph with them. Remember that? We did like a sing-along.
Heck yeah, I remember it. I got a lot of money for that guy's autograph. I let you guys.
Cards.
I let you guys get all you needed, and then see, folks, how we as a family pay for Comic-Con is we go and we spend more money than we should because when we get home, I sell off all the extras to pay for the trip. So Comic-Con usually is a break even, which is amazing considering how much stuff we get. Like the last 2 years, I've gotten the Gentle Giant 12-inch Star Wars figure. I got Blue Snaggletooth. I got Yak Face. Didn't get the alien this year that I really wanted, but 600 Gentle Giant, really? 450, 500, 600? Are you crazy? That's not. I could get an original one for that, but that's how we pay for it. So we go through the line, and you guys get your autographs, and it's like a crowning moment for you. I'm right behind, and it's a crowning moment for me because I'm going to pay for all the stuff you guys just bought. Now you bothered those not Shifty Look, but the What Pumpkin people.
Oh yeah.
All
Yeah,
day,
all
right?
day.
So
We
much.
went-
Go ahead, Austin.
Oh, so much that at the end, we went to the end. We were standing there as they dismantled the What Pumpkin booth. All the Homestucks had cleared out this booth at this point, and the booth was just being dismantled. And they came and handed Luke the sample poster they were
The
using.
sample print from the table that was a little
Yeah.
scratched up because it was on the table all day.
And that's, kids, why you always stay to the end. Because the work guy also handed me a, 10-foot high Pac-Man vinyl banner. He's like, hey, man, you like this kind of crap? And I was like, absolutely I do, sir. He goes, well, this is like going in the trash. And I was like, it's going in my car. And I sold that the next day for $75, which paid for like 2 meals down there. Thank you, City of San Diego. The food sucks. Anyways, so Shifty Look. And again, piggybacking on what your mom said, they were the nicest group of kids we'd ever seen. You guys went off to lunch with them without us. For the first time ever, we're just like, you guys are going. Tell us about that because you're already smiling. And tell us about, as they lean into the microphone, and they tell us about that magical, magical place called IHOP.
Yeah.
IHOP Stuck. You can look up on YouTube IHOP Stuck 2014 and you'll see us at the IHOP.
Yeah. It happens almost every year. Even this year, even though we didn't go to the Homestuck meetup, and it was kind of small because Shifty Look wasn't there. They were just in a crowded area in the park. We went to IHOP just to eat at IHOP because it was the cheapest option in San Diego. And we were getting up to leave, and all the Homestuck spawns dead. And I'm like, oh my god, this is exactly what last year was like. But being there with IHOP was so amazing because you sit with like 20 different Homestucks, and we took up the whole restaurant because it was an IHOP Express. We took every table. The managers had to literally push all the tables together. We drove one customer out only.
Only drove one out.
That poor guy's like, look, I'm allergic to candy corn. I can't be here. I gotta leave.
It was some old lady in like a business suit, and she said, I'm leaving. And
Did she give you that Marx Brothers like,
Yes.
my word?
Yes. But the IHOP people didn't complain because they had about 30 people eating at once, all paying for this really expensive meal. And it was so nice because you talked about the comic, you hung out. We had like a drawing with notepad that everyone passed around and drew a little Homestuck.
The most
drawings.
memorable thing I remember is there's mobster characters in the comic. They're pretty big characters. They're from an intermission in the comic, not the main comic until later. No one ever cosplays them. It's hard to find because they're not cosplayable characters very well. But we did have two of the Blues Brothers who posed as our mobsters for the day. and Stan with his Zilly-Hoo, which is this hammer that's like 6 feet tall.
So Jake and Elwood Blues were there.
Yeah.
But you morphed them into somebody else.
They were the Jack Noir and Diamonds Droog.
And they're like, look, we just came for chicken strips and pancakes, but we'll go ahead and do this with you.
No, they didn't show up to the meetup. They knew it, sort of.
Yeah, they followed us afterwards.
Is that one of those moments where they're like, look, I'm dressed as a... Well, yeah. I'm a Homestuck. That's right, Homestuck. Yeah. Okay, so that was the great IHOP event of 2013.
We went IHOP twice.
And 2014.
Well, no. No, twice in 2013. We went for dinner, too. We
Lot
came
of
back.
So you were stuck twice in IHOP stuck.
In the same day. There was like a 3-hour break between the IHOP trips.
Did you get indigestion? Because that sounds like a terrible, terrible way to eat.
I think I only ate the second time.
But in the years since, you've actually told me that those chicken strips at IHOP were the best you've ever had on the planet.
Yes.
And you guys are connoisseurs of chicken strips. Why are they so good? Are they good because they were good, or are they good because they're flavored with that amazing moment?
Homestuck.
Flavor.
I can't go to IHOP without thinking about Homestuck and
Rub
cons.
sauce seasoning.
See, like a song takes you back. These chicken strips are like, oh my God, 2013. It tastes like
Feels
2013.
like Tankery and Miss Painter getting married all over again.
So you're doing references that nobody has any idea what you're talking
There's
about.
about 6 people in the world who will get that reference.
But here's the thing. When I put this episode on iTunes with the Homestuck name and Homestuck keywords, they're all going to listen. So could this arguably be the first Homestuck themed podcast, or do they have one?
I don't know.
They don't.
If
I
they had
haven't
one,
heard of
you'd
one.
listen.
Yeah.
But they
Normally,
don't.
the Reddit keeps track of any time it's mentioned in a news article or a YouTube. I've never heard of a
But
podcast
how
before.
come there's no, like, Skyacast podcasts?
There was Skynet News Radio, and they only aired music. They only did newscasts once or twice and stopped. It wasn't a recurring thing.
But like Night Vale has nothing to do with Homestuck, right?
a lot of the same fans are into both.
That's what I'm saying.
But
They're peripherally connected.
But the actual
not-
two licenses have never been connected.
Two totally
There's no
different
references
things.
from either one to either one.
No.
It's
But
just
like Hussey likes Ryan North, who was at the booth
Yes.
that sold Night Vale.
yes.
Is that right? Like they're
Topatico is the original maker of Homestuck merchandise before he had the funds to set up Wet Pumpkin. But Topatico has now moved on to Night Vale as their main fandom.
And let's talk about Mr. Hussey's ability to fund things. Now see, I'm a guy who works 40 plus hours a week, and I do this podcast on my day off. And this is the third podcast this week, so I'm on a roll this week. But I don't have a lot of time to do this, and I certainly don't have a lot of money, because if I did, we wouldn't be on this Adam Levine Maroon 5 microphone from Target. Okay? Where does Mr. Hussey get his money from?
Well, the actual comic costs nothing to produce other than when he's commissioning outside artists for special pages. The actual comic is done in Photoshop at his house.
But it has to be stored somewhere. These episodes
Yes.
for 91 Reasons don't cost anything, but I pay Podomatic to store them.
The server issue is a whole thing of its own that's been crazy. It started off as just a little server from Team Special Olympics, his old webcomics, and he's now on some of the most high-end servers available.
You have to. If you're talking about how many people listen, the bandwidth must be huge, because I'm just one guy.
He had to stop making the comic for a year because no one could read it. So he just stopped making it until it was
he
done.
broke the internet.
He broke the internet. He's broken his own site almost every update. He's broken new grounds, and he's caused crashes on DeviantArt, Google, Twitter, all that
Now,
stuff.
see, I would love to have those problems. Because as it is now, like people have heard before, I can only do, at this point, because I've gotten people pledging on Patreon to give me a little more money to do this show, I'm probably going to be able to do 50 or 60 episodes before I run so far out of room that the next upgrade is hundreds of dollars to keep storage of all these episodes. So, and I'm just one guy, and I get just a few downloads. Like, the download numbers are good, but they're not Hussey good.
Yeah.
Because I don't have a fan base of except, half a dozen guys who are like, yeah, Tucker guy's cool. Now, I'm thankful for those guys because they're listening. But I can't imagine what it costs for that kind of bandwidth, because even my piddly little show, they give me a certain number of bandwidth a month, and I do get close to maxing out. So I can't imagine what it would be like having to fight with some company to store everything on some server somewhere.
He keeps most of that stuff behind the scenes, so we'd have to go into older stuff. He said most of the server is paid for by the advertising on it, and most of his income and food is on the merchandise.
But where did he get that influx of cash to start this whole thing? Because, hey, I could get, I could advertise on a bunch of sites and get all this, but I get the money, the initial seed money has to come from somewhere, and you know where I'm going with this.
I know, exactly. You can actually track the moment Homestuck went mainstream, and it was the same day that the Forced Plussies were announced. This is where he got all the money so that the next July that he could do the big ComicCon Sifty Look thing. We had to hop a year back to 2012 before we'd even read the comic. Right after ComicCon 2012, he started a Homestuck Kickstarter for a Homestuck adventure video game. It was supposed to be a small 2D adventure game similar to the ones you see in the comic, where it would just mostly be text. He wanted to raise $700,000 at most to make this small game.
How much?
700,000.
700.
He met that goal in a weekend.
Uh-huh.
And by the end, which was only a month-long Kickstarter.
Yeah, they're all 30 days.
30 days? Okay.
Yeah.
2.5 million.
2.5 million. And the thing with Kickstarter that not a lot of people understand is you're pledging that money to the artist. Now, whether that artist ever delivers on what he promises is not a legal binding contract. It's just a promissory note that, hey, I'm going to make this game and I'm going to send it to you. But if I don't, you're out of luck. So we're 2 years later.
Yes.
Moving on to 3 this summer. Where's the game, Hussey?
He promised weekly updates to those who funded it. That was in 2012.
Yeah.
It was December 2013 when the first of those updates went out.
It was New Year's Day.
No, he said he'd do it by the end of the year. It went up New Year's Eve at 9 p.m.
Well, he was busy.
Yeah.
He was busy being like Scrooge McDuck in a room full of coins swimming around.
It was a couple characters and a blurry image of the summaries and stuff, so you can't read it, just know it exists.
You could do Grand Theft Auto in the time he's been working on this Homestuck game.
As of 2013, he signed a deal with The Odd Gentleman. And then
now, is that a company or just some guy I met on the corner? It's an Odd Gentleman.
It's a small LA company.
It's a really small company that did PlayStation Home games. And they did
we know how that worked out. They just shut PlayStation Home down.
Yeah. They just did an indie game with Neil Gaiman of some haunted house game.
Wayward
It
Manor.
was one of the biggest bombs in Steam history.
You're not impressing me, guys.
And as of a couple months ago, Hussey announced he's no longer working with The Odd Gentleman.
For God's sake. You guys are selling it like, look, Dad, you don't understand. This is the guy behind Croc 2, okay? So he's got a pedigree. He's the guy who announced the date the Ghostbusters game would come out and Force Unleashed.
He is now working with What Pumpkin Developers, his own company.
Yeah, I was going to say, was that somebody who lives with him?
Yes.
I'm currently financing the 6-key movie with my partner, Rachel Tucker, Esquire.
Before Homestuck and MS Paint Adventures and any of this, he had Team Special Olympics, which was him and 3 or 4 of his friends
Well, that
making
sounds offensive.
these really bad comics. And they were all really offensive comics. It's some kind of weird satire no one understands.
Oh.
And
you're smiling with glee at some guy who's run like I just imagine Hussey with a big canvas sack that has a $ sign on it, running through the lawn like, I got the money.
Those 3 friends or 4 friends or whatever are now like head of company, head of merchandising, head of video game. It's like,
Though unconformed and joked about a lot, it's pretty obvious that the head of What Pumpkin Studios is his wife.
we're not supposed to talk about that.
We're not.
That's like when we go to WonderCon and people come up to the table and your mom is there selling my book. Now, they don't know who she is, and she's like, well, the author, Jeff Tucker's not here, but he's going to be signing it too. And they're like, oh, the author's going to be here. And they have no idea that I'm literally at the bathroom getting a text from your mom going, some guy's coming to buy your book, so be here.
This actually kind of happened.
But wait, because real quick, we learned a valuable lesson, and that is, if I sit at the table, we don't sell any books because I look like a schnook. But if she says, oh, the author's here, but he's doing something, it's like, oh, he's busy. He's taking a meeting with Guillermo del Toro. I better get this book. Now, doesn't change the fact that I'm really proud of the books and that they're actually good, but the perception is that I got something going on. So if Hussey's hired his wife to head up the merchandise division, you could say that about your mom. She could be head of merchandise. She's made more horns than that woman has.
I remember going to, was it WonderCon or ComicCon? And the person who was walking the booth was someone who drew the tarot cards for Andrew Hussey.
That was WonderCon.
That was WonderCon.
Yeah, everyone who works there has something to do with the comic. He doesn't hire random people.
They're all in the know.
It's like every panel of Homestuck is so dense, so packed full of images.
We've gotten to the point in the comic where literally every line of dialogue is a callback to some other line of dialogue in the 9,000 pages. You got to find it where it's said before.
Well, that's totally understandable. Everything is cyclical, right? Mm-hmm. And he's at a point where at 9,000 plus pages, there's nowhere to go but backwards. Everything has been said and done.
That's the funniest thing you could have said, because what happened in the newest update just last night is that the main character now has superpowers that allow him...
Wait, before you even say it, I'm going to say he goes back in time to witness the events from another vantage point.
No, because time travel's been done since the first 1,000 pages. This is canon travel. When he goes back to earlier panels, Hussey actually redraws the comic thousands of pages ago and changes them. He literally travels earlier in the comic.
He's non-canonical.
But what do you mean changes them? You can't go back and change them because then you're saying to the reader, I don't care about continuity.
Exactly. He's changing continuity. He's changing continuity.
Listen, when Marty McFly went back to 1955, and he's, you know, when he's above the stage and watching himself play Johnny Be Good, the choreography that Marty's doing doesn't match the first one because I know it by heart. And the first time I saw it, I was like, BS. He's not doing the exact same thing. This is not right. But you're saying when Hussey does it, it's like, well, it's a hipster thing. It's cool. He's rewriting the history of it.
What Hussey would have done is, like, if Back to the Future, you were to boot up the first movie and put the DVD in, and you could actually see Marty running around the first movie because he was there now.
They went back and we did it.
Okay, that's different. That's different. Listen, I would buy that DVD. I would, if you're listening, MCA Universal, I would like to own that DVD if it exists. Please, thank you.
But I guess if you want to get really technical, it'd be like booting up the first movie, and it opens up with Biff waxing the car, and everything's fine because it never happened in the first place.
I see what you're
He's
saying.
He's actually changing canon. The old pages don't exist. He deleted those.
So it's all new.
It's all new.
And then you enjoy now. Much like the problem I have with Walking Dead, do you enjoy reliving the same scenes over and over again? Because I need the story to progress. And I get that at 9,000 pages, other than killing everybody for real, there's nowhere to progress to. So what could possibly the future of Homestuck hold?
Well, he claims it's only got about 900 pages left. We're halfway through a 450-page act.
Only 900? Hussey, you slacker.
Of this comic. It's hard. He's set up a lot of things, but has written himself in a way there's no way to get back to those things. 3,000 pages ago, there was a horse that was little tiny on someone's desk. That hasn't been explained yet. We don't know why. It might never get explained.
What does it matter if it's just a horse on somebody's desk?
Explained.
Yeah.
He explains everything. There's a few gaps he's got to fill in still.
That'd be like having to show Doc shopping for the pieces to make the model of Hill Valley not to scale or painted. Like some things you just have to assume, look, he went and got that.
It'd be more like Marty going back in time and giving Doc the pieces to build the model.
Oh, no. See, now you're being ridiculous.
But Darth Vader built C-3PO.
Okay, you see, you invoked the Holy Trilogy. Yeah, sorry. You know, somebody wrote a comic where when they're on Bespin, you know, when C-3PO gets blown up, he imagined a scene where Vader is given the parts and holds up C-3PO's head like Macbeth, alas poor Yorick. And that's why, because he remembers that he did it, that he made C-3PO, he puts the pieces in a box and gives them to Chewbacca instead of just having them melted down. That might be, well, no, because Chewbacca's the one who takes them out of the...
They show Chewbacca taking them off the cart.
But like that scene is somewhere in the middle. Like maybe that's why, and I haven't read the comic, and somebody out there's going to go, no, I've read the comic. But the whole thing's nonsense. Who freaking cares? The fact that Darth Vader built C-3PO is the most moronic thing I've ever heard. And a string of moronic events in those prequels. Don't get me started. So, what are you gonna do when you boot up your computer or on your phone? I mean, you get things here. You have to understand. At my house, Luke's phone goes off, and he has an announcement that's Lemongrab from Adventure Time, and he says, "What, Austin?
Unacceptable!"
And it's really loud and annoying. And all of a sudden Luke will go, oh my God, update. And it means that Hussey's posted some pages and they have to stop whatever they're doing and run to the monitor. What are you going to do on the day when it's the last update? Okay. And at the end he writes, end.
Two things about that. No, three. I can think of three things about that.
I can think of one off the top of my head right now.
One is that day's never going to come.
Yeah.
He's been saying since 2011 that, okay, this is the last year of the comic, and here we are in 2014, 6,000 pages later.
Well, why would you end it? I mean, this is your bread and butter. He's the one who... We're not saying, like, it's not like Game of Thrones where, like, well, we can't wait for George R.R. Martin to finish this thing.
Yeah.
It's like, you guys are, like, never finished.
It could never end.
Never
end. It
end.
just keeps going. And the second thing is that he's also been saying since, like, 2011 that he's always had the idea for an even bigger comic, that Homestuck was a test to see if this kind of medium of reader interaction could work. And the real plot he designed for it is next.
So this is just a warm-up.
It's a warm-up. Problem Sleuth was a warm-up to Homestuck. Homestuck...
What's there left to say about it?
We don't know.
A lot of rumors actually say that this ultimate idea he had thought of is what was turned into the Trolls, which are the Zodiac
in Act
characters.
5.
And what are the Trolls?
They are aliens that are also literal internet trolls and make fun of the characters in canon.
They were internet trolls first, then they had the idea of making them aliens. He writes everything... What did he call it? Retroactive foreshadowing.
I was going to say retroactively.
Retroactive foreshadowing.
And this is where the horns come in.
Yes. But all the trolls have horns, and they're casted by blood color.
And the gray skin.
And the Zodiac.
And every time we go to a convention, Austin tells me, well, this is the time, man. This is my Austin impression. So I'm going to do the gray skin thing. And I'm like, not in my car. You're not putting gray skin on and getting in my car. I said, if you can figure out how to do gray skin at the convention, then you can do gray skin. But A, I don't want to be involved. And B, you're not riding in my car wearing gray skin because... Tell me about the Homestuck guy who got banned from the hotel for doing what?
They chopped up gray Sharpies in a bathtub.
Wait, let's say that again. He took a bag of gray Sharpies.
Chopped them up. Poured them in a bathtub, the hotel bathtub.
Poured them in a hotel bathtub.
Got in.
He got in it.
He destroyed the entire bathtub.
Wait, no, you're missing the middle part. He wallowed around in the gray muck.
Yes.
So as to... dye every inch of his skin gray.
Yes.
And then he got out.
And the bathtub was destroyed.
They had to pay $2,000, $3,000 to fix it.
And they got skin. They damaged their skin.
He ended up in the hospital People from ink poisoning.
No, duh. Not only ink poisoning, but like, have you seen, like, this is like the nerdy version of Goldfinger, where the girl's covered in gold paint, but instead it's gray Sharpie.
Yes.
Like, have you ever used a Sharpie for more than 5 minutes? You get lightheaded.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you
Covered in
imagine?
it.
That's so
Head to
ridiculous.
toe.
I've been kicked out of hotel rooms for getting gray paint everywhere, for throwing buckets at each other.
Listen, you're never doing gray paint where I'm involved. Okay, if you want gray skin, it has to be where you go down to the pool, I don't know, and you can't put gray paint on in my hotel room. I'm on the hook for that.
Well, I would go for the easier solution, which is gray tights, which cut up and sewn into gray gloves, and then gray leggings, and just paint the face.
That's what I would do, because we saw that girl at ComicCon dressed as the girl all in white with the martini glass. Roxy.
She dressed
and
in white.
she probably looked great in the morning, but
Yeah.
by 3 o'clock, she looked like stucco. Like everything was cracking.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I've only ever seen the white done once or twice. That's on the human characters. Instead of choosing a race for them all to be, he just does their skin in #FFFFF,
Yeah.
pure complete white.
And this is where headcanons were created.
Oh,
Different people.
headcanons.
I hate
Don't even
headcanons.
start with headcanons.
I hate headcanons. I'm gonna say this right here. This is the idea that people believe the comic is so minuscule looking, that the skin is so bland, that they think they can believe the characters whatever they want. Like some people will say, John Eggball is this waist, and I'm like, I don't think they have any waist. They're just comic drawings. But people,
What on earth are you talking about?
like, where do I begin to describe
Really,
this?
okay, let's set the scene really quick, because the Homestuck characters are not realistically drawn.
They have no hands, and they're these little stubby, chibi characters.
They're like nub chibi things.
Yes.
So how the hell can that have a race?
People
Unless it's two
Yes.
of them running to see who gets there first, they can't have a race.
This
If
is
you know what
why
I'm saying?
Headcanons were created. People draw.
Wait, what is head cannon?
It's
What does that mean?
What things you make up yourself or what you think is in the comic.
Okay, so not their head. It's a cannon that it's in
Yeah,
your
it's
head.
It's in your head.
Like,
Your
I
fans
was
make it up.
I was reversing. Okay, I
Yes.
figure it out now.
Like, for example, John Eggball has black hair, but most of the time my Tumblr dashboard, they draw him with brown hair. That's the headcanon.
Well, see, there's your problem right there, is that you're trusting anything. If somebody on Tumblr says it's raining, I would check the window before I would get a jacket. Do we need to talk about DashCon at all?
DashCon.
How many Homestucks were taken in by DashCon to get extra time in the ball pit?
Yeah.
We have pictures of Eridan in the ball pit.
That's somebody from Homestuck.
Yes, Eridan.
Now,
Where?
as awful as we know DashCon was, I would have given anything to be a part of it.
Yeah, that was great. That was great.
Like I saw Howard the Duck twice in the movie theater, so I would have given anything to be at DashCon for that weekend. Okay, we're nearing the hour mark, so we got to wrap this up. We can always come back and do Homestuck Part 2. But I wanted to touch on something briefly to give this thing some weight at the end. Because, like the people who sat through my hour-long history of Morrissey, only to find out that I was really talking about a love letter to my wife. And everybody was like, oh my God, it was the most romantic episode ever. I was like, yes, it's only dreary and boring till the end. It's just like a Morrissey song. So anyways, let's talk about briefly what I've noticed about Homestuck, and you tell me if I'm wrong or right.
Okay, here we go.
Okay. I'm not going to talk about plot or anything. I'm going to talk about what I see at the conventions. Homestuck to me seems like the bastion, the place for the true outsiders. Like, it's one thing to like a comic book that nobody else likes, which is harder and harder these days. Like, I've been going to conventions since 1984. So if you'd have told me that I'm going to someday see a girl dressed as Darth Vader or a girl dressed as Deadpool, yeah, skin-tight unitard, hello, I would have said, you're crazy, but here we are. So there aren't that many places left untapped where everybody's into everything. But it seems to me like Homestuck is the one true outsider thing, because when you take that escalator down to Kamikaze and you see that land of Homestucks, what you're seeing are transgender kids who don't feel like they have a spot or a place, and they put these horns on and this makeup and this shirt, and like you said, they're welcomed right away. It's
Yeah.
You're as outsider as I am, because you know what? The crap upstairs is not outsider anymore. When they got a pop vinyl of Eddie Munster, no place of pop culture is left untouched by corporate and collectability and make it, sell it, make it, right?
Yeah.
But suddenly down there, here's this area where these kids have taken this thing that doesn't exist except on their home computers, in their home. You can't go to a movie theater. You can't watch it on TV. It's only in your computer, and it encourages you to take a part in. So you feel 10 times more ownership of it than you do DuckTales. Right? Or the guy dressed as the Quail Doug crime fighter in his underwear, right? Quail Man or whatever it is.
I don't even know.
Like, or Sailor Moon, or any of the other things that's gone like, we gotta sell the crap out of that. They do sell Homestuck stuff, but it's not like an outsider walks by and goes, hey, look at that, I'm gonna buy that. Like I would buy a piece of art about a comic book. Like I have art on my walls that, like, I got a Batgirl Prince album. Like that's so outside of my realm, but I like it because it's sexy looking and it's 80s and all that. But nobody does that with the Homestuck stuff, because the Homestuck stuff is tailor-made for the Homestucks.
Yeah.
So the question I'm asking is, do you feel like nobody judges in the Homestuck realm? Everybody's welcome. Doesn't matter how crappy your cosplay is, how weird your zilly-hoo is. It's really about, and I'm going to go out on a limb here. It's about like gay kids, transgender kids, bisexual kids, because this fandom really encourages everybody to be everybody. Because Dave Strider, the boy character, 99% of the time is played by a girl.
And Kanaya
So,
Mariam
talk
is
about that.
always a
Kanaya
guy.
is always a guy. And Roxy's half and half.
Yeah.
So what does that tell you about, like, how does that make you feel about the fandom? It's a positive thing. Tell me,
Yeah.
what
Yeah.
is that?
We have a good fandom.
They're accepting.
So
You're accepting.
Am I right?
Yeah.
Am I right in that?
Hmm. And the comic actually does feature lesbian characters. And, well, no, actually there isn't.
Cronus's other kin. There's not much in the comic. In the
Yeah.
actual comic, there isn't much. When I sit down and think about it.
But why is it embraced so much by that sort of person?
It's weird. There's no exact reason. He wrote the comic for 30-something-year-olds with all these retro references in it, and it was latched onto by these really weird group of accepting teens.
That's pretty neat, right?
Yeah.
Like to have this thing, because the only thing I can compare it to is your mom and I growing up in the 80s, and we both liked a band that by the time we got into them had already broken up. The Smiths were not available to us. We wore the shirts to show we like this band that nobody's ever even heard of. Well, who are they? Oh, they're broke up already. They're never gonna have another album. So there is something to that. There is something to. I can see both sides, because I enjoy the heck out of corporate geekness. You know, when they put the Star Wars trailer on, I was right there, man. But I also get like having that certain little thing that's just yours. Like that's interesting. That's in this day and age, it's rare too. Because when you go to Kamikaze and you say there's 100 people dressed as Homestuck, like that's nothing.
Yeah.
Because there's 35,000 people at the convention.
Mhm.
But when you're in the thick of it, you feel included.
There's more Jokers than there are Homestucks.
There's more Harley Quinns than there are Homestucks. There's a Harley Quinn every 3 feet. Harley Quinn. Oh, Harley Quinn. Oh, Harley Quinn. Oh, Kevin Smith's daughter still counts. And just so you guys know, just for those of you listening at home, if you watch Comic Book Men, the whole time my wife was talking, I was doing the Kevin Smith listening face, where his eyes get really big and he smiles and he nods. Yeah. Okay, well, we're going to wrap this up. Any last words on Homestuck? Doesn't have to be the final word, because we can do another episode whenever we want. But you got anything you want to say about Homestuck?
Oh God, that's so
Go
hard.
ahead.
Where do I start?
Imagine Andrew Hussey is listening. What would you say?
What would I say?
Thank you for making this amazing
God.
webcomic.
Get up here, Mom.
I said the same thing also at the same time. Thank you.
Thank you
you.
for doing this.
Yeah, thank you. We've been gifted with this amazing form of media.
I would say thank you for letting my children be able to express themselves and be who they are, which they both do in completely different ways, but in the same way too. Like, it's hard to explain.
Well, hold on.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
So I had to pause because I had to get permission to talk about what I'm going to talk about. Comic-Con was really... Now, we were supposed to be wrapping up the show, but those of you who are looking at your iPods or your iPhones or whatever can see that we're far from the end here.
Hey, it's just like Homestuck now.
That's right. So we went to Comic-Con this past year, and the rule at Comic-Con for my gang is everybody gets one thing, because we're going to get so much free stuff we're not going to know what to do with it. But it needs to be like one specific hefty purchase, right? And a hefty purchase at Comic-Con for us, because we're a family of 5, is like $40. As a family of 5, that's $200 before you even left the gate, plus food, plus parking, plus gas, plus everything else. So when we sat down, it's funny, Josie's in a snap. What did Josie get? Do you remember at Comic-Con what her big gift was?
My Little Pony.
My Little Pony. Derpy.
Yes.
Right. And what did you get? Do you remember? Did you get something? I can't remember what I got.
Can't remember either.
I don't remember.
Walking Dead comes to mind, but I don't remember.
They didn't. Did they do a Star Wars 12-inch? No, they didn't.
No,
I don't think they did.
Alien.
I got what I wanted, and it was free. I talked about it on the Comic-Con podcast. I wanted those Back to the Future cards more than anything in the world.
I know what I got.
And I did all the legwork to get a full set of Back to the Future cards.
Calendar.
She got Yaya's calendar. That's right, and it was exactly in our money, $35 freaking dollars.
But I got to take pictures, and it's autographs, and it was worth every penny.
See, there you go. Go Yaya. Yeah, and we saw Yayas, which was very nice. And I'm saying to you, Luke and Austin wanted something from the We Love Fine booth. So this was Friday morning, and we're on the Comic-Con floor, and it was pretty early. It wasn't mobbed in the far corner. It wasn't mobbed at all. And you guys come up to me, and you tell me what you want, and I was like, what? What the heck? There's a million things to get, and you guys wanted what, Austin?
Homestuck cosplay dresses.
A Homestuck cosplay dress.
Yes.
We should state, in case anybody was unsure, you're both male at this point, right? And you both want a dress. And my question to you both was, I don't get it. I don't understand. Now, as a tolerant and loving father, I said, okay, that's what you want. I went to Austin and I said, here's $40. If you want it, you go buy it. And you went and bought it, right? And you wanted it why?
To cosplay the character?
So you wanted to cosplay the character.
Yeah.
And now, since Comic-Con, you've actually had a change of heart, right?
Well, yeah, I put on the dress, and I'm like, I don't pull this off as well as my brother at all.
So what'd you do with it?
I gave it to him because
So-
he could pull it
My
off.
closet now.
Now, Luke has both dresses, right? And so, there you are. The Josie's joining us. You want to say what you got at Comic-Con? You have to talk really loud, honey, if you're across the room. Yeah, that's right. We're moving on. So anyways, Luke comes up to me, and he tells me the same thing. I want this particular cosplay Homestuck dress, right?
Ecclesia?
I thought it was Electrica.
Electicla? I don't know.
Electrica
The blue
dress.
jade one.
Well, I'm so glad your $40 dress, you don't even know who it is.
No one knows how to pronounce half the things in the comic.
Oh, my God. Oh, my
Well,
God.
a lot of people have headcanons and how to pronounce
Don't
that.
get on no pronunciation headcanons.
Okay, none of that.
Kanyas.
Don't get
out of here with
sidetracked.
Kanyas.
So I went to you, Luke, and I said, why do you want this? You said, I don't know, right? What'd you say?
Didn't know. I broke into tears.
You broke into tears. And as a parent, and again, 91 Reasons is honest. I tell honest things. I knew at that moment that this can go two ways. I can tell you no and have a big scene and tell you to get something gender specific and decide what you want that I approve of and have a big fight, or I can hand you the $40 and say, you go buy what you want. And what did I do?
You handed me the money.
Because that's what I do. It's not my job to pick what you like. It's your job to tell me and for me to go, okay, what does it matter to me? It doesn't matter to me. So you went over with your mom and you're both crying because this dress means more to you than it does to Austin.
Yeah.
To Austin, I think Austin's like the idiot who goes to the car lot to shop and drives off in a Ferrari. And he's like, I don't need this. I don't want this. I just wanted a Hyundai. But you went shopping for something in particular. Now, if you don't want to talk about it, we can move on. This is you making a statement, right? What does that mean?
I don't know what to say.
It's okay. I'm not putting you in a spot. Anytime you can end this anytime. Okay. I'm just saying, like, we had a moment, and the very gay guy at We Love Fine was like, oh my God, I'm here for this moment. And because I do movie references, to me, he was the guy from The Rock who's like, I don't care that you threw them in over that balcony. I do you like your haircut? Like, that, to me, that's what it was. So,
I think we should give Teresa some credit.
Yes.
Because there's a lot going on. I have my husband who is taking in what his son is telling him. I have my son bawling and emotional because he's standing in a crowd of 100,000 plus people telling his father he wants a dress for reasons that are not exactly cosplay. And then I'm trying to keep it all together, and Teresa's the same person who goes, okay, Luke, let's find out what size you'd wear in a dress. We need to get measurements because, you're going to be much different in a dress than a girl would be in.
Right.
But she's
as if you're ordering a sandwich at Subway.
Yeah.
I don't know if I want the turkey or the roast beef. Well, let's just get you a sandwich. Let's start with the bread. What size bread do you want? Foot long or 6-inch? Right? So what I would say and how I would wrap up as the father of 2 Homestucks is I would say I'm happy that this thing exists and that it allowed you in that place to tell me what you wanted and more, because you were telling me a lot more than I just want a dress, and I'm okay with that. As a parent, all we want for you kids is to be happy, and if Homestuck is part of that, then it's part of our lives. I've not read it. I know that some parts are filthy, involving trolls and buckets.
Buckets, yes.
But I don't judge. Because the plot of Back to the Future is that Marty's mom wants to have sex with him. And that's why Disney passed, because guess what? Mm-hmm. That's sick. That's incest. But it's okay.
Plenty of incest.
Oh, that's great. I'm so proud. So I would say I'm glad that you discovered this, because everybody goes through that teenage moment of trying to find something to cling to that allows you to express yourself and be who you are, right? Mm-hmm. For me, it was Back to the Future. I've referenced it enough every day since that Back to the Future became my touchstone of what I wanted to be. And anytime somebody says, what are you about? And I'm like, put this movie on. That's what I'm about. Now, I'm not going to read 9,000 pages, but I can say that talking to you guys for, at this point, about an hour and 12 minutes, I have learned more about you in the last hour than I have the last 2 years. And you guys are funny because you said, I don't know what to say. And there are moments where I'm not on the show. And that's fantastic. Any last thoughts about any of this crap? I say crap in the most loving way.
Yeah.
We're going to wrap it up, all right? We'll wrap it up because we can always do part 2. We want to thank you all for listening to 91 Reasons. Once again, who's here?
Mom.
Luke. Austin.
I am the voice you hear. I am Jeff Tucker. Thanks for listening to the show. If you want to support the show, the best way to do that is to go on iTunes and leave us a review. We're up to 15 5-star reviews. Oh, that's fantastic. Thank you for taking the time to do that. I want to thank all of our listeners around the world. We just had the guy, whoever it is in Deutschland, who popped up and downloaded. Thank you. You probably don't know what I'm saying because somebody is listening, and maybe you're an American station there or somebody who speaks English. I have no idea. Maybe this is just a random download. I don't know, but you came back. And Ghana, and New Zealand, and Australia, and the UK, Canada, United States, and even the one time somebody in China downloaded for whatever reason. I don't know. And you know what? A special shout out to the prince in South Africa who has to regain his throne, and all he needs is $1,000. And I was so happy to provide that, but he's going to pay me back like $12 million. and I know it's not a scam. So I think that's fantastic. But want to thank you for listening. We're all going to say it on the count of 3. You ready? You're listening to the fantastic show, bonus episode, Homestuck-inspired episode of 91 Reasons.
Thanks for listening to 91 Reasons. Please subscribe and leave a review on iTunes. Find us on Facebook. Is anyone even still listening?